It's about 8:05, so thank you to everyone who showed up on time and is here tonight. I saw a lot of our returning families who are here now, so hello, welcome back, and look forward to seeing you hopefully all soon. Also to our new families, we're so excited to have you and to have you join our community in our middle school this year. We've been working really hard, planning and thinking of ways to make this an amazing year for everyone. So we're gonna get started with the presentation. And at the end, there will be time for questions. If you want after the presentation, you can go into the chat and send any questions that you might have for me. Rabbi Guttenberg and Rabbi Boswich are also here with us tonight. So if there's any questions that I might not be able to answer, they for sure can do that for me. Okay, so we'll get started now and talk a little bit about our new school year. Whoops, hang on, there we go. Okay. So again, welcome to the Charlotte Rohr Middle School 2020-21 school year. And for the new families joining us tonight, I'm Mrs. Andrew Lucero. I am the middle school principal. I've been in education now about 21 years. I started off as a high school social studies teacher up in New Jersey, and then I moved down here to Miami and started my career at the middle school level.
And the instructions and the app
teacher.
and the price.
What should we do with price?
What? Okay, so
Okay, I think, okay, so I got you. All right. I don't know if you heard me, but I heard somebody else talking. So I'm now unmuted and I think everyone else is muted. Okay, that's me. So going back really quickly, I moved into administration about 10 years ago, and I'm starting my 18th year at Hebrew Academy this year, which is exciting and incredible. And I'm, feel very lucky that I get to see some of my students actually coming back with their own children to early childhood, which in itself is a little crazy sometimes, but I'm excited to start this new year. So our Hebrew Academy mission statement is one that the middle school over the past few years has really used to guide our team in approaching how we educate our whole child. We incorporate the mission statement of the school into our classroom teaching, our social emotional learning, our student activities. We focused on how our students can bring light, how they can be a light, and we always try to inspire them to continue to be a light in the world. And that's really where our academic and our social emotional learning, it comes from. We use the mission statement in our planning throughout the year. So I would like to take this opportunity to present our middle school team for the 2021 year. I feel very privileged to be able to work with this incredibly driven, motivated, and passionate group of educators each day. They have all been working with middle school level children for a number of years, and they really know how to reach the child and how to teach to them, which is so important during this critical time in their lives. Again, wrong one, sorry. Okay. So we have Rabbi Ari Carp. He was on our Judaic Studies team last year, and this year he's coming in as our Director of Judaic Studies for the Middle School Division. He will be working closely with and leading our Judaic Studies team in curriculum and content, guiding them in engaging ways for them to meet the needs of our students in the classroom. Our Judaic Studies team is comprised of Rabbi Gallendauer, Mrs. Neufeld, Rabbi Kahan, and Rabbi Rabovsky. We have Maura Devorah Werdiger, who is also joining Judaic Studies this year. In addition to her role as our activities coordinator, She is also our student council moderator, and student council elections will begin the first and second week of school with campaigning and elections. She will also be planning all of the student life events that occur for our students and for our community. Maura Meirav Kravitz, she is our department chair, our foreign language department chair, and oversees our Hebrew language and Ivrit department. And she will be overseeing our new Ivrit program this year. We have our science department, who is led by Mr. Javier Gonzalez and Ms. Tori Page. Language arts is led by Mrs. Ohana and also Miss K, and Mr. Katzman and Miss K also are in our social studies department. So these three teachers work together, I guess you would say, for humanities, for language arts, for social studies, and Miss K works closely with Mrs. Ohana and Mr. Katzman in both those areas. In math, we have Mrs. Lopez and Mr. K returning. We have Coach Chad Bishop, our athletic director, and he oversees all of our athletic programming for middle school and our PE courses. And we have Coach Stephen and Coach Mallory, both of our PE coaches. Coach Mallory is also the assistant athletic director at the Hebrew Academy, and they will be running our PE physical activity, or as we're going to be calling it, wellness periods coming up this year. Mrs. Rachel Lubitz is the director of our Academic Enhancement Program, or AEP. This program provides academic support and enrichment for all of our middle school students. When we have our back to school night, we're going to explain a little bit more of what that's going to look like, but Academic Enhancement Program, or AEP, will continue to run even in the remote setting. Our AEP teachers this year we have Miss Seagal Abramov, and I would like to give a big welcome to Miss Hannah Standiford. She is joining our AEP department this year as our second AEP teacher. We of course have Dr. Susan London, our middle school and high school psychologist, who will be running all of our social emotional learning programs, teaching social emotional classes through our SEL program, and meeting with individual students. And finally, but last but not least, we have Norma Reese, my administrative assistant, who makes everything happen. So I'm very excited to share with you our current team for this year, all familiar faces. It's always a pleasure to come back and work with a solid team, and they're going to really have been working so hard over the summer to get ready for our new year. So we have three guiding pillars in the Hebrew Academy that we've been focusing on, and that this presentation is going to focus on to explain how our new year is going to look: safety and well-being, our academic and spiritual growth, and community. Safety and well-being this year is a top priority for the Hebrew Academy administration. In middle school, safety is really the decision, and well-being really is what helped us get to this difficult decision of remote learning for the start of school. And while I know it can be disappointing that we aren't going back to physical campus, we are doing everything we can to make the start and transition of school as easy and seamless as possible as it can be with remote learning. We're going to be implementing new plans to address safety while we are on campus, and activities for well-being during remote and in-person learning. And we're going to try our best to come up with activities or some sort of social events safely that can be done possibly on campus. But safety is our top priority for our staff, our students, and the community. So right now we have a safety plan, and our middle school will begin remotely on Monday, August 24th. I want to make that clear because I had heard there was a little confusion that some people thought there was some talk that we weren't going to begin school until October, but middle school will begin Monday, August 24th. Classes will resume on campus Tuesday, October 13th. Now, should the situation in Miami-Dade improve, which we all hope will happen, we're going to revisit that decision and try to open campus earlier. So these town halls are really important. Everybody can get the information they need, and please, check your emails so you could see if anything is happening. When we do return to campus, we will have similar situation to what they're going to be having in the elementary school with health and wellness checkups upon arrival. Masks will need to be worn. There will be certain entryways and walk zones for middle school students. We're going to utilize as much of the campus as possible to spread out students, and all of our outdoor spaces will be utilized also, so we can try to have lessons out there, maybe wellness activities, and of course PE or physical education. Now, at this time, we are taking small steps as a school to try to get to the point where we can all be safely back on campus. But as I said, it could be sooner than the 13th, which we do hope might happen. But for right now, Monday, August 24th, all students will have live Zoom classes for the first day of school. So well-being is really what we've been focusing on during this time period. Since we've been home since March, we know and understand that students have been in a very different situation in their lives. And we want to focus on their well-being, not just academic, but as a whole child. So 2 new plans or programs are going to be becoming a part of the middle school program this year is a daily wellness period and advisory. Daily wellness will be 1 full class period, 60 minutes, Monday through Thursday, and 30 minutes on Fridays. The Monday through Thursday, there will be a minimum of 30 minutes of that time dedicated to physical activity or PE. The remainder of the time will be used possibly for activities that are dedicated or focusing on nutrition, health, meditation, social emotional learning. We are going to work as a team alongside Dr. London, Rabbi Bosowich, looking at positive education methods, to ways to make this wellness period something that is going to positively affect all of our students. In addition to this wellness period where they're getting physical activity, we're going to begin advisory in middle school. And advisory will be where all middle school students are going to be assigned 1 faculty advisor. This teacher or faculty advisor is going to be the person, a trusted adult for our students, so to speak, and they will oversee the total care and progress of each student academically and socially. Last semester, some of our students had a difficult time transitioning to remote learning. And I know that. I tried to work with those students. I myself had individual meetings with students and parents, throughout the semester to try to keep them on task and figure out plans to help them get to where they needed to be to feel successful. This year, each teacher is going to have a group of students that they're going to work closely with and be assigned to, so that they can help those students to make sure that they're not falling behind, that they're not knowing what's going on. They'll have time during the school day to meet with these students during what we're going to have is called a flex period. That will be at the end of each day. When we look at our schedule in just a minute or 2, I'll explain a little bit more in detail what flex is going to look like. But that would be a time for teachers to meet with their advisees. And that could be individual meetings or even as a whole group. As a group, advisory programs also are able to create new connections for students amongst each other. They get a chance to meet children that they might not have already known. And this is going to be a really great addition to our program, especially for new students coming in. And also seeing that we're beginning in remote learning, it's another opportunity for them to have connections with each other, even though they're not in school on campus. Our second pillar is academic and spiritual growth. We've looked at the types of schedule that we had prior to going into remote learning. And it was always a conversation for a long time. How can we create a schedule that can better meet the needs of our students, that can incorporate programs that we want to enrich their time at school, not just academic, but spiritually, socially, emotionally. So in order to do that, we've created a more adaptive schedule that includes supportive time for students, be that academic or social. We're going to continue focusing on the social and emotional well-being of our students. We're shifting to a block schedule where students won't have the same classes every day. And this also allows the students better time management when it's comes down to them organizing their assignments, taking tests, prepping for certain projects or learning programs. And our goal is to maintain this forward momentum and to continue to keep the middle school program moving up to a higher level. Oops, sorry. For academics, you know, our rigorous curriculum is going to continue to meet the needs of our individual students. I've already begun meeting with teachers talking about individual students who last semester might have had some of the struggles during the remote learning. And we're going to begin to implement more individualized plans to help meet the needs of students, not just a small group, of all of our students. That's why our schedule has changed to allow that engagement and allow that support to happen. On August 24th, it is back to school. It is our first day of school. We won't have exactly, I'm going to go a little more into detail about what the first day is going to look like, but that week we will begin our daily live lessons for all classes. All students will meet with all of their teachers for live lessons each day. I can't stress how important it is that they're going to have a live teacher every day meeting with them. They're also going to have opportunities to meet with those teachers during office hours, similar to what we had last semester. We're going to be implementing our adaptive learning programs like iReady, Gizmos, iExcel, just to name a few. We're going to have some new and engaging units of study and really focus on the students mastering their skills and concepts in all the content areas. We're going to be incorporating blended learning, a self-paced structure, and mastery-based grading. Our teachers have begun working in a professional development curriculum called Modern Classrooms, and it's going to not only help us better meet the needs of the students remotely, it is going to also continue to help meet those needs once we get back into the classroom. We will continue to use Google Classroom and Plus portals for all of our communication during the year. For spiritual growth, we have some new change. We're returning some and having new additions to the spiritual growth area of our curriculum. We will have daily shachrit and mincha for all middle school students. When we are in remote learning, we welcome families to join their children as they are in tefillah in the morning or mincha in the afternoon. It's always amazing when we can have families join in on this special time of day with our students and explain to them how meaningful and show them that you want to be a part of this time of day with them. We're going to be having a chavruta style learning as part of incorporated into our Talmud classes for 7th and 8th grade. We're going to continue with our family learning programs before the Chagim. We always have every year a family learning program right before Yom Kippur. That is going to continue, whether on campus or remote. If we can safely have these events on campus, social distancing, wearing masks, we're going to try the best we can to do that in small groups. We're also going to continue with our bar and bat mitzvah celebration for our 6th grade girls and 7th grade girls groups. We'll have special Rosh Chodesh events and our weekly Shabbat assemblies. Transitioning back to school this year is obviously going to be very different from other years for our middle schoolers and our teachers as well. We're going to try different events to help this become as seamless and smooth as possible for everyone. The first thing we're going to have is the week of August 17th to 21. There are going to be different transition activities remotely and possibly on campus to help with that transition. There might even be some surprise visits during that week from certain people, but I'm not going to share that quite yet. So Wednesday, August 19th, we're going to have a special activity for all new students and families. Our advisors will begin that week intake meetings, and these will be meetings with individual students who are their advisees for the year. Families or, mom, dad, or both are welcome to join. And it's just a quick get to know you, introduce who they are, especially if it's a new family, and just take sort of intake and see how are they doing, what are they nervous about, what are they ready for and looking forward to. Back to school packs are going to be sent out to all middle school students. These packs are going to be prepared for each student and will include their daily schedule, our activity schedule for the year, anything that the students will need in order to start the year feeling confident that they know what to do and where to go, but virtually. It'll also have our first day schedule in there, which we usually give out to the students on the first day. And that will bring me to the next portion, which is August 24th, the first day of school. So that first day of school is going to look similar to how it does when we are on campus. We're going to have special rotations for our students to participate in remotely. Some examples are icebreaker activities, middle school remote learning boot camp, where we could go through with all of our new 6th graders and new students how our remote learning looks like, how you go to your Google Classroom, what do you need, how can you set up your area, and sort of a refresher for our students coming back just to get them back into the swing of things. We'll have our first advisory meeting, we'll have some wellness time together, social emotional learning with Dr. London, and some fun activities with Maura Devora. So usually our first day of school, our morning, you know, sort of turns into this rotation of different things to get everyone acclimated. We're going to put that in on our first day of school this year also. And Tuesday is when we're going to begin our full-on classes. All the students will have a time to meet each of their teachers on the first day of school also and spend time with them and hear about what they'll need for the following day. Now, when we do return to school and we are on campus, we're looking to, there's the possibility that we're going to continue with a hybrid model similar to what the elementary school will be doing when they return to campus. In school and remote learning is going to be hopefully as seamless as possible. All of our classrooms are being set up with multiple types of technology to allow for this hybrid model. There are multiple cameras, microphones in the classroom so that students who choose to stay home during this time period will be able to hear, see clearly everything taking place in the physical classroom. There will be 55-inch monitors in the classroom, in the back of the classroom, so that teachers can see what their online students are doing. We're going to try to promote as much social interconnection between our remote and physical students and make sure that students will be able to participate in all the activities that we're doing at school remotely. Sorry. Also, the modern classrooms, which we are, we're using as part of our drive this year for our in-class learning and pedagogy, really lends itself to this hybrid model. Teachers will be able to have different groups of students working in different self-paced areas, and they'll be able to move around to their remote students, to their physical students, having them work on the tasks that have been assigned. In elementary school, they refer to it as like a station rotation. We do that in middle school also, and that really helps us individualize and personalize all of the students' learning and needs. So our schedule is an adaptive schedule. We have our hybrid model, and we have either the all in person and the all remote, and that brings us to meaningful learning. This year we have shifted to the block schedule. As I said last semester in the spring, we did do a block schedule, and I believe it was Rabbi Basowich who said in one of the town meetings, like it was literally an emergency. Like, here we go, we're remote. And I have to say that I know the middle school team did an amazing job transitioning to this remote learning. This 60-minute block now extends our 40-minute period classes, which we had in the past. The 60-minute block gives us some ability to deliver more engaging, student-centered activities. It really allows the teacher to get deeper learning with their students. In addition to that, it allows the students more time for guided and independent practice with their teacher. The goal of the 60-minute block period is also for the students to have possibly, it's not going to be 60 minutes of a frontal lesson at all. It would be like 10-minute delivery of the lesson and objectives, maybe 20 minutes of students working in small groups and teacher popping in and out of those small groups to direct them, another whole group learning session, and another individualized learning session. The goal is that this will provide more time with the teacher there, with the students working on their assignments. And hopefully after school hours, students will have more time to do more hands-on learning, more reading, more writing, and take a break from some of their devices. So our middle school schedule This is a sample schedule and by no means represents any one grade level or what it might look like. We're obviously, these are all the classes that are going to take place. They just might not be in this order. So I just want to let everyone know that. It was just a sample schedule I put together and put the classes in so everyone can see what it could look like. So each day you'll see that this schedule will be used for on-campus learning and remote learning. That's why it says 7:50 to 8 a.m. arrival attendance. We're going to need that 10-minute time just to get the students in, especially if we have health checks going on. We have specific locations and zones for them to walk through. We have that 10-minute arrival time there for them to do so. At 8 a.m. to 8:40 each day begins with tefillah in middle school. Tefillah is part of our middle school program. It always has been, which is why we're including it in our remote and on-campus learning. So I strongly encourage you to have your children join this tefillah each day as our teachers are there, ready, waiting, and happy to have them. 8:45 begins our first academic period and it goes to 9:45. Then we have a transition period, which will give students remotely time to log off, get ready for their next class, maybe get a drink or a snack and get in. When we're on campus, that transition time will give us time to move to other locations since we're going to be using various areas within the campus. Then you'll see this, let's say this grade level here has wellness period. Okay, wellness periods are going to be divided up by grade level. So there will be a 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade wellness period throughout the day. As I said, this is the period where they're going to have a minimum of 30 minutes of physical activity. Then the remainder of that time will be used for other wellness activities, discussion, a learning activity, a reading, videos. We're going to really create these periods to meet all of the needs of the students. This will be for remote and also for on-campus learning. We have another transition time, another academic period for a 60-minute block, a lunch period, and all of the administrators intentionally work to put a lunch period within a similar time frame because we know last year when a lot of students were at home, it was a little bit of a challenge when there was not the same lunchtime. So now everyone's lunchtime falls in about the same time period. So it should work fine. For middle school and high school, it all falls within a similar time frame. And they'll be the ones, the majority of the students at home learning. We have another academic period. We do have mincha in the afternoon. We will have another academic period. And then finally our flex period at the end of the day that I'm going to explain a little bit more about. And you'll notice our Friday schedule is different. Okay, on Mondays and Wednesdays, the child has the same classes. On Tuesday and Thursday, they have all the same classes also. It's not like last year we had A day, B day, A day, B day, and then if you ended on a B day, you started on an A day. This year, it's all the same. Every Monday and Wednesday, you have, let's say here, for example, you'd always start the day with math. Every Tuesday and Thursday, you always begin your day, your first academic course with Talmud. Okay, on Friday, it's an abbreviated schedule. Every class was cut down to 30-minute periods, and every class has the opportunity to meet, which gives the teachers an opportunity on Friday to maybe do a final check-in, a final review, give a quick assessment, do small group work. Students might have something they need to catch up on. They might need to take a Wordly Wise test or finish, a lesson for Talmud with their teacher. They'll learn Parsha on Friday, possibly. These shorter periods will give that opportunity to each week that they have an opportunity 1 day a week to meet with every single class. We also have that wellness or flex period on Fridays for the students. And of course, we end our day with a Shabbat assembly that is run by Mora Devorah and her student council. So the flex time period that you saw in that schedule at the end of the day, this is going to be a specific class period for academic support, for social activities, and also for our elective classes. That will take place Monday through Thursday, last period. On Friday right now, it comes right after the lunch period, but it's going to be a flex/wellness period. And it's really a way for us to use that period in different ways as we need it. We might use it for Israel 101, you know, for an Israel activity, a learning activity at that time. We can use it for advisory. So it really does what the name is. It's flexible. But this flex period, Monday through Thursdays, will be for the academic and the social needs of the students. There will be office hours for teachers to meet with students during that time individually. There will also be learning activities. We're going to have subject-specific study halls during these periods. So for example, during flex period on Tuesday, Mrs. Lopez might be running a math study hall period, which means that she could have students enter into that class who want to work with a math teacher on their assignments or review or have a question about a math problem. But let's say on Wednesday, Mrs. Lopez has office hours where she meets individually with students for a few minutes. That's what this flex period is going to be for. In middle school, elective classes always began after the Hagim. Every year, we never had it prior to the Hagim. So we usually have our elective courses after the holidays have ended. Students choose what electives they would like to be in, and they get a whole list of the electives describing what they are. And those electives will be in place this year again. Okay, student life. Now, even though we're beginning remotely, we are looking as much as we can to increase student life events, to continue to have them in school, out of school, and remotely. If we can have in-person safe events while we are remote, we're going to try our best to do that also. And Maura Deborah is our student life. She is the one that plans all those programs and works closely with the teachers, with me, with Rabbi Carp, to make sure those are engaging and that the students, it's really something they're going to enjoy. So the final pillar is community. Our community at the Hebrew Academy is a strong community, and we want it to maintain that way. So in order to do that, you know, we're going to continue to have these town hall meetings, check-ins with families in our community. As I said, again, try to increase social activities for parents and students alike. There is increased professional development related developments related to COVID-19. And we're going to ensure that the mission and values of the Hebrew Academy continue. So we are going to stay connected in middle school, whether it's through these town hall meetings or any types of events that we organize to make sure that you are connected as a family and as students. We will have Meet the Teacher and Back to School nights this year. We are beginning a new middle school, high school buddy program where high school students will be able to volunteer and be paired up with a middle school student. This can help the student maybe with homework, just playing a game together, and create another connection for them, and a great way for us to transition from middle to high school. We're also going to have our new student mixers with Dr. London. She often held a lunch mixer or a lunch meeting with the new students. She has student ambassadors also who are returning students that will also meet and buddy up with our new students. So this way, if they have any questions about middle school, you know, pointers on how to navigate it, and it's another way for them to form new connections with our students. And of course, our parent-child learning events for secular and Judaic learning programs will continue throughout this year. So HA Connected is our theme this year moving forward, to remind everyone that whether we're on campus or whether we're online, we are all connected. We are all warriors. So these are just some of the ways that, you know, school-wide, we're going to remain connected. And like I said in the beginning, I know it was disappointing for many of us that we are starting remotely again. The decision was not an easy one to make, but we really did it in the best interest of the safety of our staff, of our faculty, of our children, and of your families. So thank you. That was my presentation, and this is all contact information. This is my email address. Feel free to email me anytime. I've already started having phone calls, Zoom meetings with parents or students even who have questions. Dr. London's information is there also. We have Rabbi Carp, our middle school director of Judaic Studies, if there are any questions you would like to direct to him. And of course, Rachel Lubis, our director of AEP. She can answer any questions for you about the AEP program. You can contact her at The R is missing, but it's rlubitz@resg.org. So I'm going to stop sharing, and if anyone has questions, there's a chat. Okay, let me check it out. Okay, Esther Schwab. Okay, so Mrs. Schwab asked how testing will work for students who choose to do remote learning when you have both options. So if we're in the hybrid learning model, and your child chooses to do remote learning, they would take the test at the same time or same day as our students do. The difference would be that they would be in a separate learning space, a separate learning, like a Zoom classroom, and they would be able to be monitored. I'm gonna try to have our AEP teachers come in or another teacher come in and help so that that can occur, so that we have someone monitoring them at home while they're online, similar to what they did this year in Zoom. We did find though that, you know, with remote learning, traditional style of testing is not always, well, it's not always accurate and it's not always honest. So the teachers shifted to what's called to a more discussion-based assessments, where they'll give a formal style written assessment, but then they will also meet individually with students and have a discussion or ask questions to the students about the content that they've been tested on, so they could see if they really mastered that information. It's harder to have multiple devices around you to look at when you're having a conversation with a teacher to try to find out, you know, what they learned, what they haven't learned. And as I said, you know, we're going to be looking at a different style of learning where there's like mastery-based grading, where we want the children to master the concepts. You know, our goal is not, oh, you got a 60. We want to try to shift our mindset and try to look at ways in which we can assess them really for what they've learned and what they're understanding. So we will work around that in the hybrid model for sure. Okay, new parent, how do you plan to test children for a level? Okay, so I think this is from a new parent and she's asking about diagnostic testing. Usually at the start of school, we do diagnostic testing for reading and for math. We are going to continue that this year and we'll be doing it remotely. I actually just finished a webinar this week for iReady for administrators, and they have a whole new approach to diagnostic testing while in the remote learning atmosphere. So we're going to still do it the same way we did. It was an online diagnostic is what we used for the reading and the math. The math diagnostic we also gave, in addition to the iReady, we also gave a tradition style of diagnostic testing. So the math department and I are going to meet and see what's the best alternative for us for that. Okay, so for students who are learning remotely, how kids learning remotely? Other question, how will teachers manage questions for the kids who are learning remotely? So teachers will manage those questions similarly as they would in the classroom. You know, when you're in Zoom, you can see when someone has raised their hand. There are all new, there's a lot of different training now for teachers on this hybrid model. So when we come back to school the week of the 17th, we're going to be working together as a team, and actually teachers will get some tech training on what are going to be the best methods and ways to really be an effective teacher in a room in a hybrid model. You know, it's similar to when you're in the classroom, I guess. You know, you're just going to have to do constant check-ins, walking around. And as I said, the hope is that we're going to have other teachers who can be in the room, either co-teaching or as a helper to make sure and check in on those students who are remotely learning from home. Okay, can we expect to have all classes recorded and archived? I know that that is a possibility in Zoom. I don't know what, I know we are able to do it and we will be doing it. I see Rabbi Guttenberg shaking his head. I know last semester we did do it for certain classes, but I think we were just getting started and learning all the ins and outs of Zoom. So yes, we will be able to record and have those classes so students will be able to go back. Teachers also use different online programs like Screencastify, where they actually can record themselves teaching a lesson so that students can go back and listen to it. I know Mrs. Ohana last semester actually would record herself on Screencastify reading the novels so that students could go back and listen to her reading the novel online and hear the discussion. And when she was pointing out certain themes or conflicts in the novels they were reading. So there are a number of ways that we're going to be able to have students go back. Okay, so, right. In terms of the hybrid, okay, so there is no hybrid. Some students will be home and some will be in school, but you can't go back and forth. So if we do go back on campus, students will have to make, families will have to make that choice. So you can't say like, oh, I'm gonna go to school on Monday, but I'm gonna stay home on Wednesday because I have a math test. If you're home, you're home. And if you're in school, you're in school. And that's what, majority of schools around the country are holding to this policy. I know like with my own son, like that's a policy that was very clear. You can't choose and pick the days you're gonna go. So it's either in school or out of school. When we return to campus, which we're not until it's safe. I just want to remind anyone, the 24th, we are remote online. Okay, how can we evaluate the gaps about the learning last year? So the diagnostic testing that we're going to do at the beginning of the year will show us the gaps, if any, that there might be. And for students who are returning, we still have archived all the data from last year when we did the diagnostic testing. So we're going to be able to see, if they did lose any learning or if they do have gaps in reading or in math. We do have that diagnostic on file, and we'll be able to then create more individualized learning for them. So for example, we do use iReady as one of our main components of diagnostic testing. iReady has a number of supplemental materials that we can use with the students and even give to, if parents wanted to work at home on specific areas with their child, that we can share with them. So for example, let's say your child did not perform on grade level in reading comprehension. Our teachers will know that reading comprehension is the area that this child is to really focus on and give them direct learning activities that will focus on that area that they are, they haven't done well in or they're weak in. And we can share that information out with teachers also. Why is middle school starting so much later than younger divisions? Okay, we're not starting later. We're all beginning on August 24th. Okay, we're just beginning remotely. We're beginning here online. So on August 24th, when the little ones are going back to campus, the middle school and high school will be online in school. School is open, but just not for us physically. It's open online. Okay. Okay, so what was the thought and decision making in starting the middle school later than the younger divisions? I think the thought was the medical committee, it was the recommendation of the medical committee that our middle school and high school students start later. From what they found from the different types of research with this pandemic and with COVID-19 is that the older children, I think, were more susceptible and could have a harsher reaction to it than the younger children. Rabbi Guttenberg, I don't know if you want to share anything or...
Sure. So we took it, the medical advisory committee presented some of their findings as well as the educational committees that we have at school. And because of the spacing of the school and the staggering of start, we want to get this right. Bringing everyone back to campus on August 24th would simply raise the level of risk for all of the students and faculty on campus. Because our goal is to keep safety and to minimize risk and to keep our faculty and all of our students safe, it was advised, and we're following this advice, to stagger everything slowly. So we started with the younger students because they're less likely to transmit the virus, and there are also the students who didn't do as well on virtual remote learning as the older students. So we're starting with early childhood, kindergarten, first grade, and then we're not testing it on them, but we're working and making sure that we get it right, making sure that every aspect of the safety is correct. And then 2 weeks later, we're bringing back the second and third grade. The week after, we're bringing back fourth and fifth grade. And because of the way that the charts are going in Miami-Dade, it's projecting on the modeling that towards the beginning and middle of October, it will be safer for the middle school and high school students to return to campus. If the modeling changes and we're able to return earlier, we will, but we want to keep everyone safe. The middle school and high school students, we have current students in our school who tested positive for COVID and are experiencing symptoms, whereas the younger students are not. So it is really our sincere goal to keep our students and faculty safe, and this was the safest way for us to do it.
Okay, so I'll just finish up. There's just I think, maybe 2 more questions. So someone asked, if a child decides to attend in school but needs to miss a day here and there for doctor appointments or dentist or any reason, how does that work? It works the same way it would work whether you were on campus or off campus. Usually I ask parents or students to email me directly and notify me if they're not going to be in school, and also notify their teachers so that they know that they're absent from class for a medical reason or for an appointment. You know, we encourage as much as possible for appointments to be made after school hours if possible. I know that's not always the case, especially with orthodontists, which our middle schoolers have lots of visits with usually. But it's just the same way it would work as if you were during the school day. You just, you know, let one of us know, and then the student will work on it his or her own to find out what they missed. By during that flex period, they could, you know, set up a time with a teacher for office hours and meet with the teacher for the class that they might have missed, so they could see what work they need to get done or redo. Okay, the monitoring of homework, we'll be using Google Classroom for submission of assignments, and we will also be using Plus Portal. Parents will be receiving the information on how to log into Plus Portal if you don't have an account already. Plus Portal is where all the grades will be kept for students and their assignments. The advisory program is really to help make sure that kids aren't falling behind. There will be someone there for them, you know, that they can check on them. They could go into that student's Plus Portal with them and see how they're doing. Now, some students might need it more than others, but it's really, you know, that other, like I said, trusted adult in our community, the middle school community, that they can lean on and ask questions to when necessary, and who can help guide them. Okay, so for the new families, yes, we are going to be having a special activity for new students and for new families. That's going to be on August, I believe I said August 18th. I will send out an email reminder to everyone about it with the time, what it's going to be like, where it's going to take place. And we're going to try to have it on campus as long as, you know, we get the okay to do so. It'll be a fun activity for the new students and families to get to know each other. And then we're going to have meetings for them throughout the start of school. You know, Dr. London, as I said, does a lot of work with the new students. We're going to do some icebreakers. Hopefully they're going to be set up. More Deborah is looking at right now and speaking to some of our returning students to try to set up a buddy system for our new students so they could get to know someone in the grade level. And our goal is to try to get all of that happening in that week prior to the start of school, to have that event and have an introduction to a middle school student who's returning with a new student. I just want to go back. I skipped over about papers. Someone asked about like packets. Oh, okay. Oh, excessive printing. We don't really have excessive printing in middle school. The majority, almost all of the work the students do is in Google Classroom. We use all the Google Education apps. So we use Google Docs, Google Slides, for them to turn in assignments for work that they do, like problem solving. A lot of times what they do is they'll do the work on a sheet of paper and then they'll take a photo and upload it to Google Classroom. It's the best way to keep everything organized, and it creates a whole portfolio almost, or file for the kids in Google Classroom. The teachers have all the students' work in one place. They can see when submissions are made. Students have the opportunity to resubmit. Teachers can make comments on the papers that are turned in by the students. As far as science go, I'm in discussion with our science teachers right now. They're planning and thinking about fun experiments or activities that the students can do. And my goal is to have science kits for students to be able to pick up, or families to drop by school and pick up that kit. And that will be able to cover any materials they might need for the first few science experiments that the students might do. You know, if there's something really that, you know, we don't want people to have to go out and try to find random things, you know, in the middle of the week to do a science experiment. And we're going to give the option and ask, you know, if we'll send you a list of what it is it's going to be in that kit. And you might say, you know what, I have this stuff already. I don't need to drive to school. Or you might say, okay, I'm coming to school. And then we're going to prepare those things for you in advance. Especially if there's like something that's really out of the ordinary that you wouldn't normally have in like in your kitchen maybe. Okay, I'm gonna check to see. On campus. Yeah, so the same with like textbooks and printed materials. That's all going to be a pickup, because there are some workbooks that we are ordering. There are some books for the Judaic Studies classes. We're going to let everyone know when there is a date for pickup for the different grade levels, and you could come by school and pick it up. So we're going to have different packs or kits for the kids to pick up, so that they can do work at home in workbooks and writing. Okay, celebrating bar and bat mitzvahs, you can do it remotely. On school, we're not going to be able to have those types of large gatherings, just because of, you know, where we're currently at. And even when we do go back onto campus, we're going to have to limit the number of people who come onto campus to only be students and staff and faculty. I know that's how they're starting on August 24th. I know bar and bat mitzvahs are such an amazing celebration. It's a huge milestone in the lives of our students. You know, I've been to so many of them, and they're really incredible. And they're a really special opportunity for family and community and for students to get together. Just remember like where we're at right now. And, you know, we, the school, will encourage that those types of celebration be as safe as possible. And we would also like to encourage as much as possible that they don't occur during the school day. They are really detrimental to our learning program when an entire class misses half a day of learning. So the more you can do after hours or on the weekends, you know, we are understanding to certain respect, but we are gonna, we'll talk more about that in I think, you know, in the 6th grade girls meeting and 7th grade boys, really. It's really the 7th grade boys meeting is where we'll address it a little bit more closely and answer questions specifically to those boys who are being bar mitzvahed. Okay, Rabbi, do you want to, Guttenberg, you want to answer that last question?
The school supplies?
No. What if they start home when you return to campus, but a couple of months later, we parents feel it's safer for them to return full-time to campus? Can they return, or the decision is final for the year?
No. They can return. We're going to have different times during the semester when they can return. We just don't want them going back and forth every other day, campus home, campus home. So I believe we're going to work out that we need to be notified a week in advance. We can make sure that there's enough space inside the classroom. We can move things around. But if a child is on campus and needs to go home to remote learning, they can do so. And if a child is in remote learning and they want to come to campus, they'll need to let us know when they want to come back so we can make the arrangements.
Okay. Does anyone have any other questions? School supplies. So I believe the PTSA did the school supplies. So I'm not sure, I think they're getting delivered, right?
If they're delivered to school, we can make them available for parents to pick up.
Okay. Security Zoom from HA. I'm not sure. I don't understand that question so much. Can you, the person that wrote in security Zoom from HA, if you can maybe rephrase your question or? Okay, so someone asked about the removal of lockers. This year, there are no lockers in middle school. The lockers have been removed from the hallway in order to allow more space in the middle school for transition. You know, the space in the middle school hallway is very limited. And given that we need specific zones and walking paths and try to maintain social distancing, the removal of the lockers was necessary to provide that. So students will not have lockers this year. When we return to school, you know, I think we'll talk when that is going to happen. We'll have another town hall and talk a little bit more about what that looks like and what we want students to bring or not bring. Students will be able to do collaborative projects together. We'll still have collaborative learning. You know, in the Zoom, the teachers create breakout rooms where students can work in small groups together and work on different collaborative projects that way. Okay, so in middle school, most likely when we go back to campus, there will be the switching of classes and classrooms. We need to utilize the space based on number of students. So for example, we're gonna be doing the Havruta style learning for 7th and 8th grade in Talmud and for boys and girls. So because that is gonna be a combination of those two classes, we would use a larger space like the cafeteria for that style of learning. But let's say let's say then, you know, the next period or the period after that, we decide to take our advanced and core social studies and put them together with Mr. Katzman and Mr. K. I'm sorry, Miss K for an activity. They might go and use the cafeteria for that style of space. We have to be able to maintain social distancing on campus when we do return. Unless that changes, you know, hopefully we'll just go back to normal. But unless that changes, you know, we're going to have the students moving because all of our class sizes vary, to be honest with you. You know, some class sizes are bigger than others. When will they be sending out medical guidelines? Medical guidelines and requirements, when will they be sent out?
The medical committee met this week to finalize the guidelines, and the final draft is being worked on now. So we hope to have those next week.
And hot lunch will be available on campus, correct?
Correct. As of now, we are still having hot lunch. It won't be the same that you can come to the cafeteria and choose. You'll have to, it'll be bagged like how we did the Lag BaOmer barbecue. That is our goal right now. We are working with J Cafe to confirm that they can do that.
Yeah. So when we return to campus, you know, all of our classrooms have been measured out for the number of students we could have per square foot. If we're still maintaining the 6 feet social distancing, then all of those rooms will be utilized to accommodate each class that's occurring during the day based on size. And they would, you know, hot lunch, I believe, is going to be delivered out to students because the cafeteria will turn into a learning space, so to speak. It'll be our largest space besides the auditorium that we can utilize for learning. Any more questions? Our classrooms aren't, there is no standard size for our classrooms. They vary. We have larger rooms and smaller rooms. So each room, it's different. Someone asked, like, how many children do you propose to have in one class at once? It's all different. So for mask requirements, if we are on campus, as long as masks are required, all students will have to wear masks and teachers. You know, we will definitely, when we go back to campus, have mask-free areas, outside areas where the students can take a break and teachers can also take a break. I would say if a child can't tolerate a mask, I think that's probably something we could talk about individually. If there is any special, you know, if a child needs it, can't tolerate it, maybe we'd have to figure it out.
As of now, we're going to, for the safety of everyone on campus, that when they're in the classroom, we're going to require the students to wear masks. We are looking in, we as a school for our staff have purchased 3 different types of masks. And I spoke to Coach Bishop today, who's working on another type of mask for students, which will hopefully be available. So we'll have a smorgasbord of masks, and we can also make recommendations to help the comfort level of the masks. I want to say thank you to Mrs. Lucero for running an incredible evening and also for all your dedication to our school over the last number of years, and especially the last few months and this summer. You've really focused a tremendous effort in addressing the needs of our students during COVID and making sure that even the ones that didn't do well did not fall through the cracks. And I'm very much looking forward to an exceptional year, and we really are looking forward to inviting and seeing everyone physically back on campus as soon as possible.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It was great seeing everyone, and as Rabbi Guttenberg said, I hope I could see everybody on campus. I'll see you virtually no matter what, but hopefully you could see each other in person. If there's no final questions, I think we will sign off and say goodnight. And August 24th, let your kids know. We're ready for them. Good.